I am your candidate for the United States Senate, Deborah. I am from Wake County, where I represented 5 colleges and universities, including Shaw University. Oh, come on, you guys, give some love. NC State University. Okay, and a few others. And I want you to know we have been traveling all over the state of North Carolina. We have been to more than 90 counties, listening to people, sharing stories. Just now we came from Red Springs, and we toured some, give it up for Red Springs. We toured some storm damage. We talked to a family that's been put out of their house, that's lost cars. We understand that your community is suffering too. We brought some supplies. We talked to them about how we can prevent this kind of devastation in the future by having better infrastructure, better communication. Yes, better communication among the state, federal, and local governments. We fundamentally have got to take care of our people. We've got to take care of our people when there are tragedies like Hurricane Matthew, but we also have to take care of our people every single day. And as I've been traveling this state, what I have learned is Washington is not working for our people. We send people to Washington, like my opponent, Senator Burr, and then what he does is he looks out for himself and the special interests, but he doesn't look out for you. I'm here to tell you that you can change Washington by changing who you elect. And the first way to do that is to vote. So how many people here have voted? What's wrong with the rest of you? Is there anybody here who's not registered to vote? Nobody wants to admit that. So let me tell you, we have early voting that is going on in North Carolina until November 5th. And if you can go to an early voting site and get your vote in the bank before Election Day. But if you are not registered to vote, did you know that you can register to vote and vote the same day? You can do that. You know why? Because I got that bill passed in 2007. Just in time for Barack Obama to use it in 2008. So we can do that. We can register, we can vote, but you've got to do it. Because this election is going to be very, very, very close. And you have some stark decisions to make. You can decide to have more of the same. Now, Richard Burr is not a bad guy. He's just lost sight of who he works. Don't boo, vote. Don't boo, vote. He has just lost sight of who he works for. And he works for us. Now, he wrote a plan to turn Medicare, which your grandmother relies on, into a voucher program after taking $1 million from the insurance companies. He voted to raise his own pay, but he's against raising the minimum wage.
Please raise minimum wage.
He even missed more than half of his Armed Services Committee votes. And look, you guys, if you serve on the Armed Services Committee, your job is to look out for our military. To look out for our veterans and for our military families. But he didn't put them first. He put himself first. And then he was one of only 3 people to vote against a bill that would have prohibited insider trading for Congress and called that vote brave. Now in Fayetteville, you know what's brave. Serving your country is brave. The other thing that is brave is taking a chance and getting higher education and taking out some of that student loan debt because you know you're investing in your future. But you're taking a risk. You're taking a risk, and you should be applauded for it. And you know what else? Government shouldn't make money off your student loan debt. We should make it easier for you to get that education, because when you graduate, you contribute to to our economy. Now, the other thing that's brave is making a minimum wage job or maybe two to feed your family and waking up every morning worried about whether or not you're going to pay the rent. Those men and women are brave and they deserve a raise. You have and medicine and groceries and they can't afford it. And you are right. We absolutely have to raise the minimum wage. You know what else we need? We need equal pay for equal work for women. So you have a job to do, folks. You have a job. Hillary Clinton and Tim Kaine's race is tight. The governor's race is tight. My race is tight. Every single vote will count. And if you have not voted, you need to make a plan to vote. I love you too. Okay. But I'm not the main attraction. Okay? So I'm here to tell you that you have the future of North Carolina in your hand. And I know Fayetteville knows something about Terry Sanford. Don't you know something about Terry Sanford? Terry Sanford in 1960, he and JFK were on the ticket deciding whether North Carolina was going to go forward or whether we were going to go backward. I met a man who got the Order of the Longleaf Pine, one of the first people. He said, this election is the most important election since the election of 1960. Because we're going to decide whether we're going to invest in education, whether we are going to grow our economy with everybody involved, whether we are going to value love more than we value hate and tearing people down. It is all in your control. It is all in your
Thank you. Let's give it up for the University Marching Band. Look, I arranged to be here on homecoming weekend just so I could kind of boogie into that band. Chancellor Anderson, thank you for welcoming me back. And Nancy, I'm delighted to be here. Colonel Porter and the members of the Fayetteville State University Board, thank you. I want to thank Reverend Thompson for the invocation. Mayor Pro Tem Mitch Coleman, thank you for being here. Councilwoman Jeanette Council. I want to thank our county chair and a veteran, the Congressional District Chair, Vicki Andrews. Sheriff Butler, thank you. Thank you, Imani Clayton, for your work for Hillary in the campaign. My great friend Dan Blue III, whose father was my campaign chairman in 1992. I want you to make him the state treasurer. And folks, I am so proud of Deborah Ross. When she started this campaign, it was pure conviction and raw nerve because nobody thought she had a chance to win. And she believed in the promise of this state and all its people, and she believed it was bad for America to have the kind of gridlock we've had in Washington, where you actually had the Senate Majority Leader say that his #1 priority, when President Obama was elected, his #1 priority was, we were in the middle of the worst crash since the Great Depression. His #1 priority must have been to put people back to work. No. Must have been to restore income. No, he said my #1 priority is to make sure nothing happens so the president cannot win re-election. He lost that. We need to make him play again by sending her to the United States Senate so we can get something done. Look, this has been a highly unusual election. Would you agree with that? And I was looking out in the crowd when Deborah asked you How many of you have voted? And let me just try to re-emphasize what she said. All the polls show all these races are close in North Carolina. Presidential campaign, the Attorney General's efforts to become the next governor, Deborah's effort to become a United States Senator, and everybody else running. And they're all, in a way, a product of these divisions that are tearing at America. We have a decision to make about how to go forward as a people. You are actually being called upon, especially the young people here, to define the terms of what it means to be an American in the 21st century. Do you believe we're stronger together, or do we need to divide up into us and them and just fight? Do you believe that we should approach each other and the rest of the world with walls or with bridges? Do you believe that even your most legitimate resentments, and everybody's got something to be resentful about, even your most legitimate resentments should be the basis of these elections, or instead, should we vote for people who believe in your empowerment so you can change your future for the better? In other words, do you believe that anger should be the basis of your vote, or answers that will lift us all together? That's what this election's about. Don't kid yourself. I hate saying this, for most of my life I was the youngest person doing whatever I was doing. Then one day I woke up and I was the oldest man in every room. And for the life of me, I couldn't tell you what happened between the first condition and the second. It just sort of dawned on me one day. But here's what I know. Answers are better than anger. Empowerment is better than resentment. Cooperation is better than endless conflicts. Bridges are better than walls. In the end, all that matters is whether people are better off when you quit than when you started. Whether children have a brighter future, and whether things are coming together or falling apart. Now, we've been told how terrible, by the other candidates, things are in America. All the least is terrible. And it's going to get worse unless we make America great again. Now, I hope you'll forgive me, but I am well schooled in what making America great again means. I came here, as the chancellor reminded me, I came here nearly 30 years ago, and I was still a governor when a man named Vic Hackley, another retired military man, was the chancellor, was to make me 20 again. And then it means I'll give you the position on the social totem pole you had 50 years ago, which means I'll move somebody else down and you up. And that is a very bad idea. Look at this crowd. We are the most diverse, vibrant, big democracy in the world. It's better than it was 50 years ago. 50 years ago wasn't so hot for African Americans. 50 years ago wasn't so hot for Latino Americans. 50 years ago wasn't so hot for first-generation immigrants. Why do you think the Mormons have rallied against Hillary's opponent, even though they're 90% Republican? Because they identify with the bigotry against Muslim Americans, because they once were sitting ducks with elected officials inviting people to kill them as they crossed the country. 50 years ago, it wasn't so great to be gay. You were in some closet somewhere. I could go through every single solitary thing. If you were disabled 50 years ago, you could have the IQ of Stephen Hawking and you wouldn't even be in public schools. Let's just go through it over and over and over and over. This is a bad idea. Hillary said we don't need the totem pole we had then. And we don't need the totem pole we got now. We should tear the totem pole down and go forward together, because we're stronger together. So, this is a change election. You're going to get it whether you want it or not. The question is, are you going to claim the change you want? We are going to, in a fundamental way, define for ourselves and for the whole world what it means to be an American in the 21st century. We can choose an economy that goes back and trickle down. For all the hot rhetoric, Hillary's opponent basically says, vote for me, and we'll have a humongous cut for millionaires and billionaires, and all will be well. She says, vote for me, and I'll go back to growing the economy from the middle out and the bottom up. And for the first time since the crash, we got a chance to rise together again like we did in the 1990s. Who's right? Well, let's start with the facts and the past. When I spoke in North Carolina for President Obama in 2012, I said, you know, arithmetic counts for something. We can't have a totally fact-free debate here. So we've been having this fight over trickle-down economics and build the economy from the bottom up and the middle out for 36 years now. And in those 36 years, our friends in the other party, and usually the right-wing fringe of them, they've had control of the White House for 20 years and for Congress for much of that time. And we, the Democrats, have had the White House for almost 16 years. So they've had 4 more years than we have. So what's the private sector job score? Democrats, 32 plus million jobs. Republicans, 15.8. In other words, our way works better than theirs by 2 to 1. And believe it or not, more and more Republicans are saying, let's join together with Democrats and build a Main Street economy, not a Wall Street economy, a Main Street economy that grows from the bottom up to the middle out. Senator John McCain's economic advisor, when he ran against President Obama, makes a very handsome living projecting what's going to happen in the economy and analyzing economic policies. He said, not a Democrat, he said, if Hillary's plan to modernize our infrastructure, our roads, our bridges, our ports, our airports, our water lines, giving every school child access to affordable broadband, building modern electrical transmission. If it all goes through, it would create 10.5 million new jobs. Just that. If her opponent's plan goes through, it would be such a disaster it would actually cost us 3.5 million jobs. So if somebody says, what difference does it make? You say it makes 14 million jobs difference, and I'll take the 14, thank you very much. Then you got to make sure everybody can play. We have to change the banking rules from the bottom up so people can get credit from banks to start small businesses and expand them. That's 2/3 of our new jobs for the last 20 years have come from small businesses. This is a huge deal. There's a ton of money there that's just locked up that should be being used to build and expand small businesses. Then we need to use universities like this one. One of the greatest laws ever passed in my adult lifetime was passed in December of 1980 by a bipartisan vote in Congress and signed by President Carter after he had lost the election to President Reagan. It said that if federal research money goes into any institution of higher education and any professor or group of professors and students can figure out an economically viable way to use the research, they can sell it, license it, or take a piece of new companies, as long as they put all their profits back into the school to train even more people to make money in this area. Hillary wants to do that everywhere in America. Orlando, Florida is not just Disney World anymore, folks. The University of Central Florida is the biggest university under one roof in the country after Ohio State and Michigan, and they have created more than 100 computer simulation companies. Because NASA, the United States Defense Department, and Disney World, and Universal Entertainment Arts, and others, they know that they need computer simulation. It's safer. You guys, we've got a lot of military people around here. It's a lot safer to teach people to drive a tank, fly a jet, or put a rocket up in space on a simulator than the real deal. But the point is, in Orlando, they got 100 new companies out of that. And we can do this everywhere. And you can do it in rural areas. Hillary wants to do something different with corporations too. Her opponent says, we just need to cut their taxes, see what happens. She says, no, if they shut their plants down here while we're making money in America and go overseas, they ought to give back every last penny they got from the local, state, and national government. And they should not be able to import duty-free back into America. But I would cut their taxes a lot if they would share their profits with their employees, train their workers, and a whole lot if they would invest in small towns, rural areas, Indian country, coal country, any place that has been left out or left behind for the last 15 years. Give them a whopping tax cut if they'll put America back to work. Now, I've been doing this work half my life. That'll work better. That'll work better. That's stronger together. You make money, help other people make money. We also have to learn to live together. See that lady in that Mom's Man Action shirt there? She had this radical idea after all these school shootings and all these people getting killed that we ought not to be the only country in the world that has no reasonable background checks for people when they buy a gun. Because we don't if they're online sales, and we don't if they're gun show sales, and it doesn't make any sense. They say, oh, well, the problem's so bad now you can't fix it. That's just not true. We passed the background check law when I was president, and we had a 67-year low in illegal deaths by guns, and nobody in North Carolina missed a day of any hunting season, missed a sports shooting contest, or was unable to protect their family and their home. Look, anybody who lives in a rural state knows that there are a lot of people out there living more than an hour from the nearest law enforcement. We're not talking about that. We don't want to take anybody's gun away. We just don't want anybody shot by someone who shouldn't have a gun in the first place. In the wake of all these controversies over police shootings, Hillary did something I thought was really smart. She went out and met with chiefs of police in cities that were well known for their good community relations across racial and religious lines. And these people were amazing. Here's what they told us. They said, look, we know sometimes mistakes are made and we ought to be held accountable. We have no objection to body cameras, and we know some of our people need ongoing training. But the real problem is, too many times, our people, even here, where we have lots of trust in this community, are put in impossible positions because we don't have adequate mental health facilities in every community in America. So the police said they didn't ask for more police, they didn't ask for more equipment, they asked for community mental health treatment. It was really after 9/11, she first tried to get New York taken care of. Then she devoted herself to getting adequate armor and other protective gear for people in combat. Then she devoted herself to trying to make sure we took care of people when they came home, especially those with post-traumatic stress syndrome and with traumatic brain injuries. Because we know now, everybody here knows this, we have the highest, the good news is we have the highest combat survival rate we have ever had in any conflict situation. That's the good news. The bad news is a lot of the people who are surviving come home with serious physical and emotional challenges, and we, the American people, have an obligation to take care of them and to make sure they can live their best life and work. And a lot of nice things have happened to me since Hillary became an elected official, but no more moving.